Year after year, his name was never called. Too small, overlooked, undrafted. He was the kid nobody wanted, but he refused to quit. And years later, he stood alone, hoisting the Conn Smythe Trophy as the MVP of the Stanley Cup playoffs. This is the ultimate underdog story of Jonathan Marchessault. In June of 2023, Jonathan Marchessault stood center ice in Las Vegas, hoisting the Conn Smythe Trophy as the most valuable player of the Stanley Cup playoffs. He had just led the Vegas Golden Knights to their first ever championship, capping off a dominant postseason performance where he tied for the league lead in goals. It was the absolute peak of a journey that almost no one saw coming, a moment of ultimate validation for a player who began his career completely overlooked, unwanted, and undrafted. His story is a testament to relentless hard work, unwavering self-belief, and the refusal to let anyone else define his limits. It's a journey that started far from the spotlight in the rinks of Quebec City. Jonathan Marchessault was born in December 1990 in Cap Rouge, Quebec. Like so many kids in the hockey-mad province, he fell in love with the game at a young age. He wasn't blessed with imposing size. He would top out at a generous 5'9", but he possessed incredible offensive instincts, quick hands, and a natural scoring touch. He rose through the ranks of youth hockey and eventually landed a spot with the prestigious Quebec Remparts of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, playing under the legendary goalie-turned-coach Patrick Waugh.
Good skater, got a great shot, and he had some grit for his size, so I called the midget AAA team and I said, I'm sorry, but he's going to stay with the big club.
Playing for the Remparts, Marchessault quickly established himself as a dynamic offensive player. He improved steadily each season, showcasing his skill and creativity. In his final year of junior hockey, the 2010-11 season, he exploded. He scored 40 goals and added 55 assists for 95 points in 68 games, proving he was one of the most dangerous scorers in the entire league. He wasn't just an offensive dynamo, he also displayed a surprising commitment to the defensive side of the game, winning the Gaetan Duchesne Trophy as the QMJHL's best defensive forward that same season. He was a complete player, a leader, and a proven point producer. But when it came time for the NHL entry draft, the phone never rang. Not once, but twice. He was eligible in 2009 and again in 2010. Both times, all 30 NHL teams passed on him round after round. The reason was always the same: his size. Scouting reports consistently flagged his 5'9" frame as the major concern. Could he survive the physical grind of the NHL? Could he win battles against bigger defenders? In the eyes of the scouts, the risk was too high. He was labeled as too small, destined to be, at best, a minor league scorer. Being undrafted is a brutal rejection for any young player with NHL dreams. For a player who had just put up nearly 100 points in one of the best junior leagues in the world, it was a slap in the face. It was a clear message from the hockey establishment: you don't belong here. For many players, this would be the end of the road. They might try their luck in Europe or hang up their skates altogether. But for Jonathan Marchessault, being overlooked wasn't a reason to quit. It was fuel. It ignited a fire, a chip on his shoulder that he would carry for the rest of his career. He refused to let a number on a measuring tape define his future. If the NHL wouldn't draft him, he would force his way in through the back door. The long, hard grind through the minor leagues was about to begin. The NHL dream felt further away than ever. But for Marchessault, the rejection wasn't an ending. It was just the start of a much longer fight beginning in the unforgiving world of the American Hockey League. While his drafted peers were attending NHL training camps with guaranteed contracts, Jonathan Marchessault had to start from the absolute bottom. In the summer of 2011, after aging out of junior hockey, he wasn't signed to an NHL deal. He signed an American Hockey League contract with the Connecticut Whale, the minor league affiliate of the New York Rangers. This wasn't just a step below the NHL. It was a world away, a league filled with long bus rides, small crowds, and countless players whose dreams were slowly dying. But Marchessault attacked the AHL with the same fire he had shown in junior. He wasn't just happy to be a pro, he was determined to prove he belonged higher. In his rookie season with the Whale, 2011-12, he didn't just survive, he thrived. He put up 24 goals and 64 points in 76 games, earning a spot on the AHL All-Rookie team. It was a phenomenal start, numbers that usually get a young player noticed. But the Rangers, a deep organization, never gave him a real look. The too small label persisted. After that season, he became a free agent again. He signed a contract with the Columbus Blue Jackets organization in 2012. This move brought a glimmer of hope. He finally got his first taste of NHL action, playing 2 games for Columbus during the 2012-13 season. But it was just a brief cup of coffee. He spent the vast majority of the next 2 seasons back in the AHL playing for the Springfield Falcons. His production remained strong. 67 points in 2012-13, 44 points in 56 games the following year, but the NHL call-up never came again. He was trapped in minor league purgatory, watching other, often less productive drafted prospects get opportunities he felt he deserved. In 2014, he was traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning organization. This move reunited him briefly with coach John Cooper, who had coached him years earlier and appreciated his skill. Playing for the Syracuse Crunch, Tampa's AHL affiliate, Marchessault continued to dominate. He racked up 67 points in the 2014-15 season, earning AHL second-team All-Star honors. The next year, he scored 27 goals in just 45 games. He was clearly one of the best offensive players not in the NHL. He did get a few more brief call-ups with the Lightning, playing 47 NHL games over 2 seasons and showing flashes of his scoring touch with 8 goals and 11 assists. But he could never stick. He was seen as a 4A player, too good for the AHL, but seemingly not quite good enough, or perhaps just not the right size or pedigree for a permanent role in the NHL. By the summer of 2016, Marchessault was 25 years old. He had spent 5 full seasons grinding it out in the minor leagues. He had put up huge numbers everywhere he went. He had proven his skill, his work ethic, and his determination. But the dream of being a full-time NHL player seemed to be slipping away. This was the make-or-break point for many undrafted players. Do you keep chasing the dream in North America, or do you take a more lucrative offer to play in Europe? Marchessault decided to give it one last shot. He signed a modest 2-year, $1.5 million contract with the Florida Panthers. It was a low-risk signing for the Panthers, a chance to get some potential scoring depth on the cheap. But for Marchessault, it was everything. It was his first real opportunity to prove that he belonged in the NHL.
Dying seconds of the period, Marchessault right up the middle. Here's Marchessault, scores! Sets up Yandel over to Marchessault. Let's go home, baby! It's an overtime winner for Marchessault.
He arrived at Panthers training camp that fall with the same chip on his shoulder he had carried his entire career, but now it was amplified by years of frustration. He knew this might be his last chance, and he seized it with both hands. Playing with a new level of confidence and desperation, he didn't just make the team, he exploded onto the scene. Playing in the Panthers' top 6 forward group, often alongside star centers Alexander Barkov or Vincent Trocheck, Marchessault finally got the chance to showcase his offensive gifts consistently at the NHL level. And he delivered in a massive way. He scored 30 goals that season, adding 21 assists for 51 points in 75 games. He had gone from a career minor leaguer to a 30-goal scorer in the best league in the world. He had finally, emphatically proven every single doubter wrong. The undrafted kid wasn't just an NHL player, he was a legitimate top-line threat. It felt like the perfect Hollywood ending to his long, difficult journey. But his story was about to take another unbelievable twist. He had finally proven he belonged in the NHL, a legitimate 30-goal scorer. But just when he thought his long fight for respect was over, the team he broke out for decided he was expendable.
I just signed a 2-year deal with Florida. It's awesome. I'm going to give 2 years at the same spot. Expansion draft happens.
Florida, the Vegas Golden Knights select Jonathan Marchessault.
Jonathan Marchessault's 2016-17 season with the Florida Panthers was the culmination of a long, hard journey. After 5 years grinding in the minors, being told he was too small, too replaceable, he had finally silenced the doubters. His 30 goals placed him among the league's best scorers, and at 26 years old, he was just entering his prime. He had earned his place. He had earned security, or so he thought. That summer, the hockey world was buzzing about the arrival of a new franchise, the Vegas Golden Knights. An expansion draft was held in June 2017, where the Golden Knights would select one unprotected player from each of the existing 30 NHL teams to build their inaugural roster. Every team knew they would lose a player, but they had control over who they protected. Teams had difficult decisions to make. Most chose to protect their core stars and promising young players. The Florida Panthers, however, made a decision that would go down in expansion draft infamy. Despite his breakout 30-goal season, they chose to leave Jonathan Marchessault unprotected, available for Vegas to select. The decision was baffling. The Panthers chose instead to protect younger, bigger forwards like Nick Bjugstad, players who had potential but hadn't produced nearly as much as Marchessault. Florida's management, led by Dale Talon, essentially gambled that Marchessault's career year was a fluke, a one-hit wonder they could afford to lose. They prioritized size over proven production. For Marchessault, it was another brutal rejection, another sign that despite everything he had accomplished, the hockey world still didn't truly believe in him. The Vegas Golden Knights, led by general manager George McPhee, couldn't believe their luck. They happily selected Marchessault, acquiring a 30-goal scorer essentially for free. But McPhee wasn't done exploiting Florida's missteps. He also made a side deal, acquiring another skilled forward, Riley Smith, from the Panthers in exchange for Vegas agreeing not to select certain other exposed players. Marchessault arrived in Las Vegas not knowing what to expect. It was a brand new team, filled with players cast off from other organizations. Most experts predicted they would be the worst team in the league, a typical expansion doormat. But something magical happened in the desert. Head coach Gerard Gallant, who had briefly coached Marchessault in Florida and knew his potential, immediately put him in a key role. He placed Marchessault on the team's top line alongside fellow castoffs Riley Smith and William Karlsson, a player Vegas acquired from Columbus who had scored only 6 goals the previous season. This trio, united by the shared experience of being discarded by their former teams, formed an instant, almost telepathic chemistry. They played with speed, skill, and a massive collective chip on their shoulders. They became as the Golden Misfits, the heart and soul of an expansion team that wasn't just competitive, they were dominant. Marchessault was the engine driving that line. He picked up right where he left off in Florida, proving his 30-goal season was no fluke. He finished the Golden Knights' inaugural regular season with 27 goals and a team-leading 75 points, shattering all expectations. The Misfits line was unstoppable, combining for a staggering 93 goals and 213 points, carrying the expansion team to an unbelievable first-place finish in the Pacific Division. But their miracle run wasn't over. In the Stanley Cup playoffs, Marchessault elevated his game even further. He played with a fiery intensity, scoring clutch goals and leading the team emotionally. He finished the playoffs as the Golden Knights' leading scorer, racking up 8 goals and 13 assists for 21 points in 20 games. He led the team on an improbable, shocking run all the way to the Stanley Cup final. Although they would ultimately lose in the final to the Washington Capitals, the Golden Knights' inaugural season remains one of the greatest expansion stories in the history of professional sports. And Jonathan Marchessault, the undrafted kid who was deemed expendable by the Florida Panthers, was the MVP of that miracle run. Midway through that incredible season, Vegas recognized his value and locked him up long-term, signing him to a 6-year, $30 million contract extension. He had finally found a home, a team that believed in him, a city that embraced him. He had completed his climb from undrafted obscurity to become a legitimate NHL star and the face of a new franchise. Alright, quick break. If you want more unfiltered stories like this, do us a favor and smash that subscribe button. And if you want to become an official member of the Skates and Scars crew, hit that join button below. Your support fuels everything we do. He had reached the top, silencing every doubter who said he was too small, too unwanted. But the ultimate triumph, the final piece of his impossible journey, was still to come. Jonathan Marchessault had already achieved more than anyone ever expected. The undrafted kid had become a 30-goal scorer, a key player on an expansion team that reached the Stanley Cup final, and a respected veteran leader. He had secured his future with a long-term contract. He had proven beyond any doubt that he belonged. But the ultimate prize in hockey, the Stanley Cup, still eluded him. The Golden Knights remained a perennial contender after their miracle inaugural season, but they repeatedly fell short in the playoffs. Marchessault continued to produce, consistently scoring 20 to 30 goals a season, playing with the same fiery intensity that defined him. He remained the emotional heartbeat of the team, the original misfit who embodied their underdog spirit. Then came the 2023 Stanley Cup playoffs. Vegas, now under coach Bruce Cassidy, entered the playoffs as one of the top teams in the Western Conference. And Jonathan Marchessault, at age 32, elevated his game to a level no one had ever seen before. He went on an absolute tear. Throughout the playoffs, he was an unstoppable offensive force. He scored clutch goal after clutch goal, seemingly rising to the occasion in every big moment. In the Western Conference Final against the Dallas Stars, he scored a natural hat trick in the series, clinching Game 6, punching Vegas' ticket back to the Stanley Cup Final. The opponent in the final? The Florida Panthers, the very team that had given him away for nothing in the expansion draft 6 years earlier. The narrative was almost too perfect. Marchessault didn't shy away from the irony, acknowledging the extra motivation. And in that final series, he was dominant. He scored crucial goals, played with relentless energy, and led the Golden Knights emotionally. In Game 5, with the championship on the line, Vegas routed the Panthers, securing their first ever Stanley Cup. As the celebration began on the ice, the question turned to who would win the Conn Smythe Trophy as the most valuable player of the playoffs.
Don't go far.
Okay, for what? What's this?
The Conn Smythe Trophy goes to the most valuable player in the playoffs.
The choice was clear. Jonathan Marchessault, who had finished the playoffs leading the team with 13 goals and 25 points in 22 games, was awarded the Conn Smythe Trophy. It was the ultimate validation, the absolute pinnacle of his improbable journey. The kid who went undrafted, who spent 5 years grinding in the minors, who was cast off as expendable, was now standing center ice, hoisting the Stanley Cup and the Conn Smythe Trophy. He became the first undrafted player since Wayne Gretzky to win playoff MVP. In his emotional acceptance speech, the chip on his shoulder was still evident. He spoke about his long journey, saying, "It shows that anything's possible."
It's just a great feeling right now to see my journey where it brought me, and that's something that I'll cherish for the rest of my life.
He had proven them all wrong. Jonathan Marchessault's legacy is now secure. He is the ultimate underdog story in modern hockey, a testament to the power of perseverance, self-belief, and using rejection as fuel. His journey from the bottom of the hockey world to its absolute summit is an inspiration, proof that talent can be overlooked, but determination cannot be denied. He didn't just kick the door down, he owned the entire building. He turned every rejection into fuel, every doubt into motivation. His journey is a raw story of proving the entire hockey world wrong. It's proof that the greatest victories are the ones nobody saw coming. Who is another ultimate underdog story that needs to be told? Sound off in the comments. If you want to see our next investigation, hit that subscribe button. And to become part of the crew, smash the join button below.